everyone, and welcome to the 12th Canadian Science Policy Conference, CSPC 2020. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, et bienvenue à la deuxième conférence sur la politique scientifique canadienne. This year's conference is in virtual format, and we are all conducting the interviews virtual. And at this point, we are pleased to have with us Dr. Rémi Quirion, Quebec Chief Scientist and all-time supporter of CSPC. Nous sommes heureux d'accueillir avec nous Dr. Rémi Quirion, scientifique en chef du Québec, et un allié de CPC tout le temps. Welcome to the conference, Dr. Quirion.
Merci beaucoup et c'est un plaisir d'être avec vous aujourd'hui.
Excellent. So let me just start off with this question about the year 2020, which has been an unprecedented year and challenging one for everyone, for all the world. And especially, I can imagine for you as Chief Scientist of Quebec. And I know one thing has been on your radar, and that has been open science during pandemic and access to data in real time. Would you tell us why this is important, how it is changing, and what are you doing about it?
I think what we have seen in Quebec, but also all over Canada, I would say even globally, scientists decided to work together more than before. Scientists from the public sector, scientists from the private sector, and from the get-go, from the start, saying data will be available to everyone. So not the usual competition. There's always a bit competition, of course, in science, but saying for the good of mankind, we have to work together. We have the sequence of the virus. It's public, no information. Everyone can have access to it. Mechanism of action of the virus, the same thing. So it was quite unique that we saw all these scientists from various sectors decided to work together very, very quickly to try to find solutions. Most of the funding organizations in the world, including Wellcome Trust and many others, said, well, if we support you, we support your research program related to the pandemic, it has to be open science. All data have to be available to everyone. That's what we did in Quebec as well. So we told our community, yes, we'll support you, we'll create new program that rapidly will support research project, but it has to be all open. And I must say that the movement in that direction, nobody objected to that. And I'm quite pleased to say that now I think open science, it's a movement that started many years ago. But if there's one good thing about the pandemic, it's that they accelerated that very, very much. So that's, I think now we cannot go back. Basically, open science is there to stay. Access to data, very critical also, because we were kind of building a plane at the same time as we were flying it, as we say often. Of course, we knew very little at the beginning about the virus, about the pandemic. So having access to data in real time is critically important. I must say here that in Quebec, we still have work to do on that. There is still some of the rules, some of the law that don't make it easy. So when you're not in a pandemic, in a crisis mode, maybe it's okay. When you are in a crisis mode, it has to be very smooth. And there I will say that at the Canadian level, I am via BC, British Columbia, very much, where there they have access real time, and that's something that we need to emulate in the rest of the country.
So this is something very interesting that we will follow up with you and people in BC to see what comes out of that kind of mindset and perhaps collaboration. Also, you have frequently been in the media for obvious reasons. And one of the things that you were dealing with fake news and conspiracy theories. And what can you tell us about that as chief scientist who had to deal with these issues and to respond back?
I think this became very, very prominent for various reasons. Of course, the society or citizen anxious about the pandemic, about the virus. They wanted to know more, and they were finding information that were a bit contradictory. Yes, you should wear a mask, maybe not, but again, it was because we did not have all the information. And then started with social media and so on, all kind of fake news, 5G, The virus was made in a lab. This drug is marvelous. It's a miracle and will cure everyone. So all of that, we had to deal with that a lot. So what we decided to do is to not to focus on the data of the day, but start to explain a bit more the scientific methods. Of course, it takes a bit more time, but explaining to our citizen that basically you have a method, you have to reproduce data in science, you cannot cut corner. It has to be excellence. Also, we are telling our community, our citizen, you have to go and look at sites that are credible, where you have real scientific information. Globally, of course, WHO has one site. At the NIH in the US, in Canada, also Public Health Agency of Canada. In Quebec, we have a site, my website, a lot of information. So trustable information, not necessarily the first one that you see on the web. Right. Go down a little bit, because often the first one, the fake news, people transmit them a lot. So often they are at the top of the list. It's not what they should be. So we need to, but now I think we need to, what we learn, we need to be much more careful about this issue of fake news. We were thinking that maybe Canada was a bit immune to that. We are not. So we have to take it seriously, and we have to build capacity. So we have to start research program to try to understand the impact of social media, the impact of fake news. We have to bring on board social scientists that will try to explain the phenomenon. So we have started in Quebec few programs. One of them is dialogue with our citizen. The other one is engagement, engaging the public into research program. But I think we have to confront this movement, the fake news, and all the scientists need to be part of that. We need to basically say, no, this is not for real. And I think your organization, the conference, is very important there, but also various type of media, the regular press, as well as social media. Very important that more and more we tell our citizens, hey, be careful, this is not real news, it's fake news for the following reason.
Excellent. I want to switch gears a bit into more general questions. We are at the beginning of the third decade of the third millennium, and what a start, really. I want to ask you, how do you envision our future in dealing with grand challenges of humanity, such as this one? And then the role of science policy in perhaps dealing or helping dealing with these challenges.
I think again, maybe the pandemic, one good thing about the pandemic is that science is everywhere. So we hear about science a lot. We see scientists in the news much more often than before. So, and our leader, elected official, government official, high-level policymaker, listen more to scientists than they were 6 months ago. So I think there is an opportunity there when we go and talk to them, say, oh yeah, you're a scientist and maybe you can help me make a better decision. So I think that's an added value of the pandemic, and we need to make sure that we build on that. And I think now what we are trying to do, say, yes, we have the pandemic crisis, we have many other crises. Maybe the impact is not someone dying tomorrow, but in the long run, it's very bad for the planet, like climate change. And trying to bring that to the high-level policymaker, what does it mean for him or her in the day job, but also what it means for our citizen, for our neighbor. Climate change, what does it mean for me on my street? So that's something that we are starting to work on quite a lot in relation to the Sustainable Development Goal, and say, hey, look, we have to make sure that our government base their decision on policy, on data, so that science is part of the new policy that they will make over the next little while. Otherwise, there is no way out. For me, I think the only way to make progress in the Sustainable Development Goal on climate change is science. Science, the only way out of this crisis. And we have to make sure that scientists and high-level policymakers talk to each other much more, understand the language of each other much more than in the past.
Si vous me permettez, je voudrais poser cette question en français aussi. Nous entamons la troisième décennie du troisième millénium d'une façon toute particulière. Je voudrais vous demander comment vous envisagez le futur et le grand défi qui se présente à l'humanité. Quelle sera la contribution de la politique scientifique pour relever ces défis?
Moi, je suis très optimiste et je pense que la science et les politiques scientifiques vont nous aider à relever ces grands défis. La pandémie nous a démontré l'importance de consulter les scientifiques, d'avoir des scientifiques qui vont conseiller les gouvernements pour essayer de prendre les meilleures décisions. Donc, je suis assez confiant que pour les grands défis de notre société, comme plusieurs des objectifs de développement durable des Nations unies, on peut penser au changement climatique, on peut penser à l'immigration, la pauvreté, l'éducation. Il faut baser les décisions des gouvernements sur des données probantes, sur la science. Donc, d'avoir des scientifiques qui travaillent main dans la main avec des hauts fonctionnaires qui sont en charge de développer les nouvelles stratégies, les nouvelles politiques, je pense que c'est tout à fait essentiel. Et j'espère, je suis assez optimiste, que la pandémie va nous faciliter la tâche de ce côté-là, que tout le monde va avoir réalisé l'importance de la science et de la recherche pour le monde de demain.
Excellent, thank you. And on a relevant point, what is the role of organizations, and in this case, CSPC, in this evolving landscape and playing a role in the grand scheme of the science policy and in dealing with grand challenges?
I think, of course, very important in the past. CSPC was very important in 2019. The pandemic make it that now we don't have a meeting in the flesh. It's all virtual, and that's a bit more complicated. But at the same time, it demonstrates that organizations like CSPC are now essential. So we need to make sure that we have this forum where you can exchange between policymakers at various levels, federal level, provincial level, municipal level. Very, very important that you have scientists linking with high-level policymakers and that we learn the language of the other. So I think CSPC, more of a critical role than ever, it should become, I would say, almost essential. So it's a big task probably for you, but I think almost on a daily basis, CSPC should be seen as a critical actor in terms of science policy, not only in Canada, but globally.
It was very inspiring. Thank you very much, Dr. Quirion. Merci énormément pour être avec nous aujourd'hui. And to the participants of the conference, make sure you capture the panels organized by Fonds de Recherche du Québec. That there are a number of excellent panels organized by the FRQ, and thank you again. Bonne conférence à toutes.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.